on the board of a funny little library in Montreal called the Atwater Library, which is an independent library, and it's actually it's originally a mechanics institute, which is originally a Scottish organization that started in the 1800s to build institutes of learning for the working man around the world, sort of around the time of industrialization, so basically teaching drafting and kind of technical skills. So it's Canada's oldest lending library, Canada's first library with a computer center. I think we had one in the 80s. It's an independent thing. We sort of have this tiny little budget, and it's a kooky little place. And we're open to the public. So I've been on the board for a couple of years, and it's sort of this really great little stuffy old library with wood and marble and all sorts of that kind of stuff. But it's got this idea to be doing computer stuff, and so I wanted for a number of years to do some digital media stuff with kids. And so we just got some funding, funding from Heritage Canada to do this. And so we got about $25,000, which mostly is going to pay for someone to develop the program and get different groups involved. So what we've done is we've built relationships with, I think, 6 other organizations, so a couple of high schools, a couple of community groups, and we're kind of bringing them in and working with them to build workshops for what they want to be doing. So some of it is going to be some digital photography stuff with a bunch of young parents. There's going to be some hip-hop stuff. There's a group called Literacy Through Hip-Hop, so we're doing some of that and recording that. One group is going to be doing a video, and I can't remember what the other 2 are doing. So anyway, that's the project. We're going to be looking at blogging, podcasting, video. The long-term objective in, if we can get proper funding for it as it goes forward, is to have sort of this teaching mandate or this kind of workshop mandate built for the people who are taking it, but also to be providing services to community groups. So podcasting, web design stuff, videos, whatever, that kind of thing, but have the people who are providing that service be kids who are graduating from this kind of program. And the target is kind of low-income kids around where the library is. It's actually right in Westmount, which is the richest part of Montreal, but Westmount is bordered by St. Henry and Little Burgundy and the downtown core of Montreal, which are all pretty wide mix of ethnicities and minorities and all sorts of, let's say not, anyway, it's not the richest part of the city by any stretch, so it's kind of a neat mix of stuff. So that's really the project. Here's a draft mission statement, is getting kids and community groups using creative web technologies to talk about the things that interest them and to build their communities. When I first heard about podcasting, I first started figuring out this stuff, I just thought it was such a great potential for people to talk about stuff and record stuff and spread around sort of impressions of the universe that just are not reflected all in mainstream media. And actually, Scarborough Dude, I don't know if anyone's listened to Scarborough Dude stuff, but you can't even come close to imagining it being on any kind of mainstream media distribution channel, but it's this fantastic rambling philosophical stuff, and it's great to listen to. So just the existence or the ability of this stuff, I thought, all these kids who are watching CSI Miami, I mean, I don't know what kids watch these days in Myspace and all this thing, there's such a disconnect from the lives that they're leading. So media now has the ability to be their media instead. And it was funny, yesterday in the session about schools and podcasting, it's really interesting. All these kids are going crazy on Myspace and they're text messaging and all this kind of stuff, but they don't even know about podcasting. And I thought that was pretty astounding. And I wonder, why that is. Why is it that Myspace is interesting, but being your own radio host isn't interesting to kids? So I think that's all the sort of information-y stuff. Oh yeah. So I just wanted to have kind of a discussion with anyone, well, I guess with all you guys here, and just talk a bit about some ideas about what podcasting can be doing with kids, what what projects like this should be doing, could be doing. If any of you guys have any experience with kids in schools, I know Matt works in for the NFB doing a project called Citizenship that does, well, you can probably tell about it more, but gets people to tell their stories in media. So what do I have here? Yeah, experiences with similar projects, challenges, other places where podcasting can help kids. So the idea of this project is really to be kind of a template sort of thing. We're going to try to put all the information about it up on the net for anyone who wants to do a similar type of project. And the pilot project is happening. We just had our first workshops the other day, and apparently they went really well. And we're going through to, I think, April. And if you look at atwaterlibrary.ca, you can find the project and description. There's a actually, the scroll's too crazy looking. So that's it. Open discussion.
Just a question: is the language of the library, is it mainly English or French or both?
So it's mainly English.
Okay.
The funding we got from Heritage Canada was specifically for Anglo, for an Anglo project. So it's going to be in English to start. I'd like to just be whatever as we move forward. We have another interesting thing. There's a refugee center right beside the library. And actually, we have quite a big computer center, and our main sort of usage of that is people from the refugee center communicating with homes. So there's another whole other kind of direction to go there, I think. I mean, what great way to sort of deal with being in a new place. If you can be recording and talking about your experiences and either sending them home. I mean, I don't know, there's broadband issues in other countries of the world. But anyway, it just seems to me that this medium, I've heard so much in the last day and a half about how to make money podcasting and how to monetize your this and get more hits and how to optimize Google and all this kind of thing. And I think it misses, to me, what's really exciting is that all that stuff is really, to me, so incidental to the power this gave back to people to just put whatever their experiences are out into the world. So more questions. I feel sort of not right to be standing up here and talking to you guys. Yes.
Does this include audio and video podcasting?
Yeah, ideally, yeah. We're partnering with a bunch of different groups. Concordia University's television station is working with us, so they're providing some training. Oh, I guess the other thing that's important about this is that it's all, we have one paid person and then three people who are getting little stipends to organize it, but then there's, I think, 35 volunteers who are kind of from different backgrounds of media, of podcasting, blogging, some people who are music producers, journalists. So there's kind of this whole idea of trying to get mentorship about this new wonderful thing that's happening that seems like a lot of kids are just, they're just spending time on their Myspace and they're missing this sort of new freedom that they have to be doing something. So. Yes?
Hopefully this time you won't catch me with a bagel in my mouth.
Oh, sorry.
I did a project like this for a local community center called St. Christopher House here in Toronto, only it was about television.
Yeah.
And it was 18 months. It was funded by Trillium, which is where the lottery money goes. So anyway, I actually developed a program more recently, which I like to call my little certificate in online journalism or citizen media or whatever. And I made 5 courses. So there's one that's an introduction that explains what everything is. Then there's the one that's digital imaging, which has to do with manipulating things with Photoshop or the GIMP or whatever. Then I thought, okay, well, let's have an audio section. So I made a course about podcasting, and it includes hands-on how to do it, things like that. Then I thought, okay, well, let's have a video component. So I put in about video blogging. So let me see. And there was one more, and one on blogging. Yeah. And I've sort of been sending it around to get some feedback, and it's been getting some good feedback so far.
Well, I would love to see that.
I will be getting an email.
Sounds great.
Because
online right now?
I do have it online on my blog, which is reallygoodfriend.com, but I actually have a much wider proposal. But I also thought that if it was at a local community college or something like that, one of the things that could happen is they could take a couple of courses from their catalog and throw it in. And also, I figured that there could be a placement part or an internship part where someone could get paid, hopefully. I sort of believe in paying people for their internships. I don't believe in this, like, everybody needs to work for free, even if it is maybe an honorarium. Like, I went to Katimavik, and after 9 months, I got $1,000 and a plane ticket home. So, I mean, and $1 a day. So it's not a lot of money, but I thought something like that.
Yeah.
So I thought, in Canada, all over, there's a whole bunch of different blogging networks that actually have paid staff who actually have officers. There's corporations, there's small businesses, there's a community center that might like to get online. So I thought there would be a placement component to it as well.
Have you had any experience with working with kids on this kind of stuff?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Most of it has to do with film and television.
Yeah.
I did a program with at-risk youth who basically got kicked out of their schools for fighting and misbehaving and had to go to the local community center, and that's where they got their lessons. And half the lessons had to do with math and whatever, but the other half had to do with when they got really angry. They had like a lot of staff, like almost like 1 staff per kid. And so when they get really angry, they want to fight with someone, they would sit them down and work with them on anger management issues. So I did a TV show with them called Kid Cops, because they may be odd little kids, but they're obsessed with law and order. In fact, the #1 show in American prisons is America's Most Wanted, followed by Cops. So anyway, these kids did it. They wrote a script. They made all the costumes and the props, and it was like a show about kids who were undercover cops. So I did that.
How did you find the results of it? Like, were you happy with how the kids reacted to it?
In terms of the kids, I was incredibly surprised. Like, they took to it.
Yeah.
They all wanted to operate the camera. They wanted to do everything, and I really had an effect on their behavior because they had this little thing where if you don't behave,
Yeah.
well, actually, not if you don't behave, more if you really, really misbehave a lot,
Yeah.
you don't get to go to video camp this week.
Right.
And so it was sort of like this thing that's like so exciting. And this is several years ago.
It's amazing. I mean, when I started my writing on my blog, to me, you know, I've been sort of a writer on the side for many, many years, and it was such an amazing thing to be able to publish, you know, what I was doing without having the intermediary. So it seems to me, I mean, it just seems so obvious to me that this should be such a way to get kids back engaged and stuff. So that's a neat project. So anyway, we'll have to talk afterwards. Yes.
I'm only been out of high school for 2 years,
Yeah.
so I don't know. But when I was in high school, I really didn't attend class. I was not the best student
Yeah.
in any means whatsoever. But when I did get involved with yearbook and stuff like that, just because the teacher was like, you have to graduate, you have to take this course, I think that I got so involved in it, and I ended up getting involved in school and graduating with honors, and then now trying to correct the bad marks and the good
Yeah.
marks in college. I think that how it made me feel made me want to participate more, and now in college trying to get into, when I went to Centennial, I tried to get into podcasting, and now that I'm at Seneca, same thing, they're trying to start it up with the students.
Yeah.
I think that it does so much with self-esteem that it's such a good thing to start.
I mean, I still have this blog that I've been doing for a couple of years, and it's an amazing thing when you get a comment, you know. And so sometimes you get 2 comments, and you just think, wow, you know, the world is amazing. And it's such a funny thing, just that ability to get the interaction on it. There's a project that I believe it started in Montreal called Leave Out Violence, and they get at-risk kids to do photography and write a newspaper. And so I think they publish their newspaper 3 times a year or something. And actually it was with these guys that we originally looked at this project a couple of years ago. Because they're not putting it online, so there's kind of this, it's the problem with you know, this hard media, unless there's some kind of means to distribute it, there's just no sort of, you don't know if anyone's looking at it, and there's no feedback mechanism, whereas in podcasting, you know, or blogging or online, that interaction, which I think is the thing that you know, I think it's why kids are so crazy about Myspace, because, you know, right away someone, you know when someone comments.
Sorry, like, maybe this is a thing on digital media literacy. Maybe I'm not as digital media literate as I'd like to be. Could you talk about Myspace? I keep hearing it.
Oh yeah, okay,
I'm
well,
totally ignorant.
Myspace is this, I don't really know all that much about it, and probably, you probably know a lot
I
more
am
about
on MySpace right now, actually, like before you came.
So it's basically a website where you can set up your page and you have your picture and stuff like that. But there's just, I guess, well, explain it. I don't get it.
Like MySpace is just part of the Web 2.0, like the community sort of aspect of the web. You go on, you create a profile about yourself. You create like my friends are into music, so they're like their bands have MySpace profiles and stuff like that. And then you just go on, you search, and you have friends. And like even though you may not know the person in real life, like I have 1,000 people like that on my MySpace, but maybe their cause or something, you add it and you get bulletins about it, and then you can leave comments on their pages so you can see it right away in real time.
But there must be a bunch of services just like this.
There is.
MySpace won. It was the one that went.
Yeah,
you know,
MySpace
it-
is Facebook.
So
There's
basi-
There's
Facebook,
Facebook,
and there's
which
another
was
one
originally
for.
college and university, but now it's opened up to anyone who would like
And
it.
I heard this morning that MySpace is out and Facebook is getting cool.
Yeah,
So-
I hate
But-
Facebook personally.
But those are the two
but-
biggest in the space.
Yeah.
They're the two biggest. If you're a grown-up person, you probably want to do LinkedIn instead, which is for people who are like
For business.
Business.
For
Business.
contacts.
You don't have to be a business person, but it's more, I don't like to say adult-like because that's obnoxious, but it's, and the same word is obnoxious too. It's just a different sort of flavor with a bit more of a business focus, business spin. Although a lot of people on MySpace are in their 30s and 40s and are doing it for business reasons. But in terms of hookups for business, you definitely want to do LinkedIn.
It's a really great.
LinkedIn.
Linkin,
No.
or EDIN, right?
EDIN, LinkedIn.com.
Okay.
Oh,
So
thank
there's
you, sorry.
MySpace, Facebook, LinkedIn, and there's probably a bunch of others.
Well, there aren't that
Yes.
many, but there's another one for new age types. And you actually have to be approved to get into it. And you can find ads for it in magazines like,
What's it
You can
called?
find out all
I
about
can't
it.
remember what it's called. but
You might be interested to read Business 2.0 magazine. It covers all this kind of stuff. And of course, Fast Company.
But you're saying MySpace is the one that's just completely caught on and has
Yeah, it's
what,
big in
hundreds of
teens and
millions
20s.
hundreds of millions of people? Or
No,
what?
hundreds of thousands, possibly millions.
Oh, no, there's
It's not
definitely
hundreds of
millions.
There's 150 million people on MySpace.
There you go.
Okay, so MySpace.
Okay, that's how many people are registered.
Well, really, I
So
think we're
how
getting
many
off
you
topic.
get.
You can
150
find.
million. And is that's international,
Yes,
not just United States or
No.
something?
Absolutely,
but
yeah.
even though there's not many people registered, there's not that many people using it.
So is anyone here working with kids right now doing anything like this?
Something like that. Yeah.
Sorry, is anyone working with kids right now? Yeah, and what do you do with kids?
Well, I work as a high school teacher.
Okay. And
I work at the university and I have some co-op students working with me.
and Matt,
Well, I was
maybe
gonna
let's talk
say-
a bit about citizenship.
Yeah, well, Citizenship is a social issues website produced by the National Film Board of Canada. And so one of the goals, one of the ideals of Citizenship is to get something just like this project, to get into the community and empower marginalized or voiceless communities or with media, basically. And one project, I mean, this is making me think of 3 or 4 different projects that we've been working on. But one thing that we've done is very similar to what you're doing. We're working with what's called the Focus School in Montreal. I think it's in St. Henry. It's a model which is filmmaking. Basically, they go into these at-risk schools and they teach them how to make films, about their experiences, and they write the film collaboratively.
I'm in the wrong province.
And they edit it collaboratively, and we just had a screening, and all the videos are now on the site on Citizenship. And this is the kind of model that might apply well to what you're doing too.
Does anyone know why kids don't do podcasting or aren't interested in podcasting?
Because people, video, but they do podcasting, they use YouTube like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
But they don't do audio very much. They're hardcore video.
Yeah.
That's because they grew up with television.
Yeah, I guess the audio. It's funny. I'm an audio junkie, so when podcasting came, I was like, hallelujah.
But
And
we
then-
just
but-
did some
but it's-
demographic studies, and actually some of the biggest demographics listening to podcasts are actually between 50 and 60.
Yeah.
Like it's actually, people think it's for kids, but it's actually very evenly distributed.
Well, I listen to most of the podcasts I listen to are public radio stuff from
Yeah.
the UK and Australia. So.
Kids will listen to I think, from what I can tell, will listen to a podcast if it has to do with music and something about a band that they like.
Yeah.
But in terms of choosing between audio and video, for them it's almost no contest.
So why aren't kids doing it though? That's what
They
I
are. They're doing video.
Video.
Almost exclusively, I would say
Okay.
95 to 98%.
Yeah, like my 9-year-old cousin
Yeah.
he sees himself as a film director, and he does little videos with his friends. It's unbelievable.
Well, to answer your question, I mean, it's pretty new. Okay, I mean, it seems to me that the podcasting icon has only appeared on iTunes in the last, 2 years? And just, I mean, working with high school students, it's really only in about, maybe, really starting, about maybe 2 months ago, that suddenly everyone had a little digital music player.
Yeah.
Like even a year ago, it was
No,
a
they all
small
had
minority
iPods. They all
of
had iPods,
students.
you just didn't notice them.
Sorry?
Honestly, they all had iPods, you just didn't notice them. And kids with iPods don't use iTunes that much because they don't want to pay. So they'll either share their MP3s or they will rip their own CDs. But and also iTunes uses a proprietary format, which kids don't use. They use MP3s almost exclusively. So that's why. And they know where they use like LimeWire, they use email, they do P2P and download this stuff.
Well, but what I'm saying, working in high school, the proliferation of these music players has really only happened in the space of the last year.
Yeah.
Well, I would say a year and a half.
But
No.
But those,
No.
Well, I never.
No.
Well, then, I mean, I didn't see. Like now, every
now
student
you
has
see them
one.
everywhere, yeah.
Every
It's
student
fair
has
to say
one.
no,
But a year ago,
It's
I
because they
didn't
were
notice
probably
that.
all getting stolen.
Yeah, but no,
A year ago, I didn't
kids
see
have
that.
been doing it for years now. But you may have noticed it because a lot of them now have white headphones. That's probably why you noticed it, because it's much more noticeable. But it's been going on for quite a while. They've been ahead of the curve.
Yeah, but it's. I mean, maybe it's 2 years, but it's not much longer than that anyway. But what's interesting to me is that MySpace takes off like crazy, and other types of technologies have taken off like crazy. But I think the answer is just that audio isn't a format that kids are into at all, and it's
Only
more.
for music.
It's more. More video, which is interesting.
The short attention span.
Yeah. Yeah.
Video
Yeah, I mean,
satisfies
even-
immediately, it's gratification, constant,
Yeah, I find-
constant. Audio, you have to actually focus.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't say that necessarily either.
No?
They do audio big, but only as it relates to music. So, and most bands, let's face it, put out videos. So kids will carry around an iPod or whatever and listen to music. I mean, you look on the subway and everywhere they have it. But in terms of hands-on doing it themselves, unless they are musicians or budding musicians, they are going to do video.
I mean, they don't have the patience to listen to talk.
Do kids listen to the radio?
That is true
I think,
about talk, yes.
Do your friends listen to the radio?
no.
No. Okay.
And
So then there's the answer, right?
we don't listen to radio. Now, I said earlier coming down here that I listen to podcasts. To me is like the radio for me. Like, I never turn on the radio, and I only listen to audio podcasts if I'm on the subway and I just don't feel like getting up my
You're unusual
laptop.
for your age group.
And then I got into Dignation's podcast like hardcore in the last 2 months. Like, I've watched every episode in the last like month.
Yeah.
And like I have that one doing my work,
Yeah.
the videos on, but I'm more likely to watch the video one. And then I listen to Mark Hoppus's music podcast, and I listen to that on the subway. So, but I would prefer the video version
Yeah.
over the. I
I
need
mean, I
something
guess
to
we
look at.
kind of.
Just a note on that one, basically, like, I've got a lot of kids in high school right now who are in ESL programs, and basically they're still listening to the radio because there's not a lot of multilingual podcasts available for them, so a lot of them are still listening to Fairchild. They're not searching them out.
Yeah.
They're there, but they're not searching them out. But I think the Chinese kids are listening to Fairchild, the Tamil kids are listening to specific radio stations, and they are all available. So there's still some of them listening to radio as a way
That's
of keeping in touch
cultural.
with their culture.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's cultural.
yeah.
How much time do we have? I guess we're kind of done, aren't we?
You have about 5 or
Until
10
we
more
get
minutes.
kicked
It's up to you.
Well, I don't have anything else to say. I guess, does anyone have any input, ideas about I guess, as I said, this project is totally new. Actually, maybe if you guys want, it'd be really nice if you could go take a look at the thing. It's atwaterlibrary.ca, and then there's a little icon called media. Maybe I can get that on there.
One thing I would say, in terms of one little tiny piece of advice?
Yeah.
At the end of the project, give them a CD or a DVD they
Yeah.
can take away with
Well,
them.
the real purpose was to have something at the end. So each workshop is going to, I think one group is making a zine actually, and they're going to do online and print version. But so the idea is really, you know, this isn't work. It's you're making something for yourselves. And I'm not online here, so I can't get to that one.
I missed the beginning of things, but I know what the presentation is about. Right now I have like a mixture of kids in grade 11 and 12, and I have them, a lot of them basically are at-risk kids or special education kids with a combination of the ESL challenge on top of that. I'm a ComTech teacher with the Toronto District School Board, and it's a case of a lot of the time, a lot of these kids have never had a chance to kind of consider themselves.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the big thing that podcasting can do, and the thing like that I do, like I'm doing video production, audio production, graphic design, animation with them, and basically some of them haven't even been exposed to computers in the first place. So all of a sudden they're gaining some form of a feeling of competence, but they're also, I usually have them do projects about themselves.
Yeah.
One of the most famous projects in the school that all the kids go and look at is when they replace their face on a celebrity's face on a magazine cover. It just drags them to the hallway, no matter what cultural background, and it's quite interesting. I have the kids that are normally in hijabs putting themselves into other cultures, which is kind of interesting. It's a really sort of different leap, and a lot of them are making music on their own all of a sudden. They're making documentary videos about themselves. They're having a really interesting time. So it is definitely a way. That's why I'm here. I want to be able to get them into the podcasting factor.
If anyone works with kids, I really recommend you check out Julien, who's around here, but check out his podcast, because he swears a lot in it. I said this in the session yesterday, but he's like exactly what I think if I were a kid in high school who liked hip hop. That you just see, like, here's a guy who just from his basement decided, I'm going to start, well, not basement, but anyway, decided I'm going to start making a podcast, and it's so sort of raw and good, and anyways, I just recommend you check it out. It's I don't know why I'm doing an ad for Julien's thing, but inoveryourhead.net. It's just, to me, inoveryourhead.net, and it's about hip hop music, and he offers something, I think, to kids that they're just you don't really find elsewhere. I'm sure there are other podcasts that are like that, but he talks a lot too. But he talks about music, and
So that's the kind of podcast that would appeal to, say, ages 11 to 19, huge, because that's what they're into right now.
Yeah, and he's there's pictures on his website and stuff, so you can see, like, he's a kid. Like, if I'm kind of a crazy kid who doesn't know what's going on, you look at a picture of Julien and you go, wow, look at this crazy looking guy. So anyway, it's a neat show.
There was one other thing I wanted to say. I think another reason why kids don't actually do audio podcasts is that it's actually not that easy to do. Video camera, you just pick up the camera, you point, you shoot. Turn it on, you point, and shoot, and that's it.
Yeah, you can have a camera phone
Exactly.
on YouTube.
But audio podcasts, you have to actually do some serious work
That
with
was
that.
one of my things that I got so angry at the term podcasting that Apple put out these iTunes or iPods, and they got the name podcaster. They got all the branding, and they didn't include a record button. I just couldn't believe it. I thought, what a bunch of jerks.
On the iPod?
But, yeah, on the iPod. I mean, to me, I thought, oh, great, everyone's going to be able to record audio everywhere with their MP3 players. There's a couple that do, but anyway, that's right. That's my little anti-Apple.
There's a little
Cut that out of the
$45
video,
doohickey.
please.
There's a little $45 doohickey from Griffin.
Yeah, I know, but then you have to buy another. It just seemed like the perfect opportunity to.
But Creative was smart. Almost all of their stuff records.
Yeah, and iRiver as well does. So actually, if you're looking for an MP3 player, I recommend that you get one that actually records as well, so you can be doing this stuff easily. I have.
Which one's that one? Is that the iRiver?
Yeah. So and it's great. Then you just. I think you can get recordable ones for. Does anyone know, for like $150?
That one's 100.
Here's a question. Will those new iPhones record?
Yeah, they do, yeah.
Probably.
I bet they'll record.
They have video.
But they
you
cost
can record
$1,000 or
videos.
whatever, $750.
At least.
That really makes it, to me, again, that's the thing. like, I got into this stuff just using the mic on my computer when I first did it, so it sounds terrible, but I can record, you know. And then I bought a $25 USB mic, and that's what I mostly use. I have fancier gear now.
Everybody's talking about these snowball mics. I keep hearing, some of the big podcasters around here keep saying, I have a snowball mic, I have a snowball mic. I gotta go online and see what this is, because everyone seems to have one.
They have one at the Apple Store.
Yeah, it's supposed to be really, really good. Is it, do you know?
They're decent. I mean, for the price, definitely.
Oh, they're Apple mics? Like,
No,
they're
they're
marketed to Apple?
they're marketed as a USB mic, and so a lot of times you find them in Apple-related things. But it's just the big thing is that you have balanced audio, so you don't have to worry about your noise. The digital interface is separate from all the noise that's inside your laptop or inside your computer, and the quality is pretty good.
So there's is it literally like some kind of ball?
It looks like a snowball.
And it has little sliders or something?
No, it just has a USB connection. They make different ones.
Another really good one is sold at, I think it's called the DV Shop. It's out on Dundas West. And basically they've got a fantastic, it's actually a high Z microphone with a USB input where it actually converts it inside of it at $69. And I just recently fooled around with it in my lab. I bought 2 of them after I tried the first one because it was great. The recording is clear. It sounds like you're in a studio. Like I built a little studio in the classroom, but it is a very nice unidirectional mic with a really nice sound to it. Like it sounds like they were in a booth and they're inside the classroom and they're just in front of a regular Dell computer. And it's plug and play and it's easy and it's clean. And for us, we put it right into Adobe Audition.
So here's
And it says Sennheiser.
It's the website. Check it out, leave a comment, tell us what you're doing. And as I said, we want all this stuff to be online and available for anyone. So the more feedback we get from elsewhere, the better. And if anyone wants to talk about this, I would love to talk more. Bye-bye.
Oh. Let's give the guy a hand.
Yeah.